You're gonna have a fever, man. You're not gonna be able to make glucose. Your sugar level's gonna be real low. You can go into shock here with that low blood pressure. What can trigger the stress response? Infections, just post-op from surgery, getting mad for no reason, a car accident. You ain't got cortisol to help you deal with that car accident injury. Like, you can literally die. Whew.
And that means that it could be acute. So sometimes if patients have Waterhouse-Friderichsen syndrome, they can actually go right into acute adrenal insufficiency. They don't even have to have chronic adrenal insufficiency. But if somebody has chronic adrenal insufficiency and then you introduce a trigger or a stress response, you can definitely put them into acute adrenal insufficiency or adrenal crisis. You just have to really figure out what are those triggers. Oftentimes, the one that usually picks up on the exam is the sudden discontinuation of steroids.
Y'all, this is real serious, okay? If you're taking steroid medications, and I would hate to be a nurse of a patient who takes it and they refuse their medicine a lot, like, that would literally have me putting my quitting. If I got a patient that takes steroids and they refuse to take it, that would be my last day working there. It will. Because how dare you put me in a situation like that to where they're not taking their medicine. And they literally need it. I'm not doing it. It's other jobs for RN. And they don't want to.
You just lose the whole exogenous system. Your body has to go into this fight or flight mode to figure out how to make more of it, and it just won't be able to. And so you're going to this extreme adrenal insufficiency. And it's really important to be able to think about these. All right, so we talked about adrenal insufficiency with pathophys, cause. We've gone through the findings. We've gone through complications. Now we have to dig into the diagnostic approach. All right, my friends. Now we talk about how we approach the diagnostic section of adrenal insufficiency. So I have a patient comes in. Orthostasis, hypoglycemia, hyponatremia, hyperkalemia, metabolic acidosis, fatigue, lethargy, the eosinophilia, a lot of things that point to adrenal insufficiency. So what am I going to do? Well, the first thing is I get cortisol, because the cortisol is low and I have adrenal insufficiency. If it's low, okay, cool. There's definitely the possibility. Then I'm going to figure out, is it coming from the adrenal gland or is it coming from the pituitary? Then I got to get ACTH. If the ACTH is then low, then what is it?
If it's low, if ACTH is low, this could mean there is a pituitary problem. This could be secondary, right?
Right. It's likely secondary. Now, I just have to ask myself, is it due to the sudden discontinuation of steroids or is it a pituitary problem?
So secondary. So if they're not taking their steroids, you taking that medicine is acting as if that medicine bottle is a pituitary gland and it's help to supply cortisol. So if you're taking medicine, this is a secondary, okay? Because primary, there's something wrong with the adrenal gland itself. Secondary is something else that's preventing the adrenal glands from functioning, like the pituitary not working to release that hormone, or you're not taking your medicine. That's important to know that too.
So what am I going to do? Well, the next thing I like to do is I like to make sure, because sometimes it's really important to just completely determine that, oh, it really is secondary adrenal insufficiency. So what patients will sometimes get is something called ACTH stimulation test. And basically, you give them ACTH and then see how they respond to that. And another thing that you can do in combination with this to really determine that it is secondary and it's not primary is check the aldosterone and the renin levels. The reason why is in patients with primary adrenal insufficiency, their aldosterone levels will be low. The renin will be high.
In primary, aldosterone low, because in order for aldosterone or cortisol to be released, the hypothalamus has to release the releasing hormone for it. Dang.
So I have a hot take. AI is not just a buzzword. If you use Monday CRM.
I'm so glad you said that.
Glucose checks.
Something about this thing.
No, I just watched
going back to late nights like this, but it doesn't have to be these weeks.
Setting the non-adrenal crisis of a kind of a Now, we move to the next section, which is how we treat adrenal. Sometimes you need to do a fine needle aspiration. pH. There's the cause. Adrenal. What I like to do is I like to make sure, because sometimes it's really important to just completely determine that, oh, it really is secondary adrenal insufficiency. So what patients will sometimes get is something called ACTH stimulation test. And basically, you give them ACTH and then see how they respond to that.